Hi, I'm Kathy French. I'm the Director of Development with Vera Lloyd, and I wanted to tell you about a fire story. At Vera Lloyd, sometimes our team talks about those moments that make our job worth it. When things get bad, which they do, we have kids that have seen the worst life has to offer. And so when those moments happen with our kids and things are at their worst, we invite our team to remember their fire story. Who was that child? What was that moment that they made a difference, that they could see an impact, and it makes showing up on the hard days worth it. So I'd like to invite you now to watch some comments from our staff on the moments that make their work possible day to day. Thank you.
A story I think about when things are tough and things are rough. I think about a client we had here once before. His name is Frank Pitts. Come from a very bad background. Was in the independent living program. Started off in a shelter, from shelter to residential to independent. He had wanted to go in the Army. The Army wouldn't take him. So him and I went and got him signed up for the Marines. The Marines did take him. The day that he got accepted to go to the Marines, he cried. I cried. It was really a powerful moment because he just wanted to do something better with his life. Came from a very bad background. Mom didn't want him, dad didn't want him, abuse. So I think about that kid every single time, and I talk to him probably like weekly. He's doing good. He actually retired. Well, he didn't retire. He got out of the Marines, wanted to live a civilian life for a while, and now he's gotten back into the Army because he didn't like the way his life was going. So I'm really proud of him. So those are things that kind of like keep me going when our kids can turn things around and can be successful.
One of my most impactful stories is there's a young lady here who is known to not apologize for things, and she was having a bad day. She blew up and she actually apologized to me. And even after she apologized, she noted that she never apologizes to anybody. So it's nice to know that I had an impact on somebody.
So I had a young lady early on in my career at Vera Lloyd who completed the program successfully, who went on to go to college to get a undergrad degree, a graduate degree. She got married, she has children, and she talks a lot about her success being contributed to the people in her life at Vera Lloyd. And I feel like I had a big part in that, and that made a difference. And so I want all youth that come through the doors to, it may not look like it looked for her, but that they have an opportunity at success. And I feel like I may have a part in that.
Well, just recently, I was meeting with one of the young girls here, and she was really struggling with her emotions that day. She was almost in crisis mode, and that was the initial reason that I met with her. And so we had started talking a little bit about trauma, and she was like, I don't have any trauma. And then we talked a little bit more about it, and I was talking about all these underlying emotions that go along with these explosive outbreaks that sometimes people might have. And so she started really beginning to understand, well, yes, I do have trauma. And she said, well, I just don't talk about my trauma. And I said, okay, well, that's understandable. It's something hard to talk about. And then we talked a little bit more, and then she was like, I really need to talk to somebody about my trauma. And so that is like just helping them to understand that there are reasons that they behave and feel the way that they do during these times of overwhelming emotions and behaviors.
One young lady comes to mind. She would come in angry most of the time, never smile, never happy about anything. However, we shared a moment when she just cried and really just broke down and told me she was really tired of being tired. She was hurt. She was tired of the disappointment. She was a very broken young lady, as most are. But as I listened to her, I offered to pray with her. And she said she wanted to pray. And we did. And we shared that moment. Whether or not what we shared impacted her or not, she knew at that moment I heard her cry. I heard the pain, the loss, the disappointment, and most of all, the Lord heard our prayer. So when I get discouraged and anything here at work, I think of her, because even in that moment, she gave me encouragement, because she was willing to just let herself be open and vulnerable to being cared for and loved. And that was something that touched my heart tremendously.